like I couldn't imagine what it's like to like have a kid right now. Although I can
Listen. Let me tell y'all something. It is not for the faint of hearts, okay?
Oh, I know.
My single parents out there, I don't know how the hell y'all manage a plot. I have a newfound respect for my mother, even though she get on my nerves.
Thank you for tuning in to Sip on This with A Paris. About to get lit with these topics. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for the love and your time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Without further ado, I bring to you this for you to sip on too.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sip on This. Before I proceed, if you guys are tuning in for the first time, if you're returning, thank you guys so much. However, if you like what you listen to by the end of this episode, do me a solid like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Now let's jump into the panelists for this afternoon. If you tuned into my last season, these are no strangers to my podcast. We got Shaniqua and Chaila here, my good sisters. I don't like how that sounds. But anyway, they're the mental health specialists that are in our group. And would you guys like to, what's this? Sorry. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves and specifically what part of mental health you guys deal with?
Sure. Shaniqua, you can go first.
Right. Okay. So again, I am Shaniqua. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I work with adults because I don't like kids. So ages 18 and up. Currently, I'm working full-time with geriatrics, doing individual psychotherapy. I've done some work in a hospital setting. I've worked in a lot of different settings thus far in my field. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
So I am Chaila. I'm pretty much the same as Shaniqua, but I have an A behind my name. So licensed clinical associate. So I'm still working towards that full license, but I'm currently an intensive in-home team lead for an agency locally here in Raleigh. I actually will be transitioning to a new position next week as a clinical assessor, still with children.
Congrats!
Thank you. Congrats. Goodness, listen to me. Still with children, but pretty much just assisting my agency with diagnosing, doing the assessments, referring them to different services and things of that nature. So
okay, congrats, sis. We love somebody that moves up in the group. We love a promotion.
Thank you.
That being said,
don't we?
This actually slides right into something that I was about to ask you guys or whatever. Not really dealing with promotions, more so the celebratory part. Got my drink here. And so I was going to start doing icebreakers and ask people what are they sipping on these days. Now, Shaniqua, I know our good sis Shaniqua, by the way, is a new mother. So, of course, congrats.
Surely am.
So we know you're not really sipping on anything these days, but I think I asked you last season when we told the people that, you know, you were expecting your first bundle of joy. So what is going to be your first cocktail that you sprint to the bar for, sis, when you're
honestly, I think I might tell the bartender anything with a percentage of alcohol in it at this point.
That's fair. That's so fair.
Life came at me very fast. So at any point, just anything with a percentage of alcohol, I'll take 2% at this point.
Not 2. Okay.
Anything.
Well, Chaila, what about you, sis?
Lately my drink of choice has been tequila and lemonade. So I think that's been my thing.
What's so funny is literally everybody that has been on the episode thus far, everybody has said tequila.
I love tequila.
Every single person. But what I find very ironic is the fact that I feel like nobody was really on tequila like that, except for me and Shaniqua used to really be into tequila.
I've had some bad nights with tequila.
You have had some bad nights with tequila. I've had a time or two with tequila too, but for the most part, I like tequila because like it really doesn't give me like a bad hangover like all the other stuff. And then I also read that tequila is like, I don't want to say more healthy for you, but like it's definitely better for you than like the dark liquors with all the sugars and other stuff in it.
Yeah, way less calories.
Yeah,
that's why I try to stick to that.
Yeah.
Aside from adding the lemonade.
But
and a Red Bull.
Oh yeah, that Red Bull. I need that in the emergency pack, okay?
Not an emergency pack. You know what? All right. So anyway, now that we got that out the way, disclaimer again, I'm new to this, not true to this just yet. If y'all hear any noises in the background, please disregard. My dog, he got fits last week. I got tired of his cone. It just got removed today, and he's excited now that he can see out his peripherals. So he's been running around here like he's crazy. You may hear his feet pitter and patter all over the floor, but whatever, just, act like it's not there. But anyway, to get into today's discussion, right? First and foremost, I actually want to throw it back to Shaniqua. I'm curious to know how being a new mother impacts you and how it's affected your mental state these days. And just like your general ways of thinking about certain things.
I think actually that's a good topic. I think a lot of times people don't really talk a lot about postpartum. And me personally, just to self-disclose, because I do believe in some self-disclosure. I had dealt with depression and anxiety prior to pregnancy. So after pregnancy, it was like there was some days where it got a little bit worse, but most days I'm pretty stable. There were moments where like I would cry and I don't know why, like just moments where I was just down, and like Chase had to like drag me. Chase is my child's boyfriend. So he had to drag me like out the house, like to get me to my mom's house. And it made me feel better, but it was like I just didn't want to leave the house. And I still am super attached to my child. Like I probably have a like unhealthy obsession with her. So like I'm not ready to leave her at all from my side. So I have a lot of anxiety in regards to going back to work and what am I going to do with leaving her? Like, is she going to be okay without me? Making sure she's breathing constantly. If some little thing is wrong with her, I'm like overly anxious. So it's like really a big adjustment for my mental state. But luckily, I don't have like severe baby blues like some women may have. And I have a really good support team. Like a lot of my friends and family have checked in on me, asking me, can they help with anything? Like that, it takes a village. When you have your first child, it takes a village. And granted, I don't take up everybody on their offers because a lot of times I don't even know what I want. I don't know what kind of help I need. But just for people just to reach out makes me feel 100% better. Like I know that I'm not alone and I can lean on somebody if I need to.
Do you think, first off, that's interesting that you say that a lot of times when people ask if you need anything, you simply don't even have an answer for like what it is you're looking for exactly. I never thought about that. But do you think at times, like, if I understood what you said correctly at this point, are you saying like, even though you don't know necessarily what it is that you want, just knowing that the support is there is comforting enough to like kind of get you out of certain funks that you're going through throughout your day?
Absolutely. Even though I don't know what I need. And I tell my clients the same thing. Like, if you're wanting help, you need to be specific about what the help it is that you need, because a person is naturally going to help you the way that they would like to be helped, or that they perceive that you need help in that moment. They're not going to do it the way that you need it unless you're specific about it.
Okay.
And so me knowing that, like, I just don't know what it is that I need. Like, people are, what do you know? What do you want? What can I help you with? I don't know. It's all new for me in itself. So I'm still learning as I go. So it's hard for me to tell someone what it is that I need in that moment. But I know if anything, I need anything at any point, I have several phone calls I can make. And that for me is comforting. That helps me get through my days.
Yeah, that's cool. I was about to say, it's so funny because you hear all the time that like people say you don't know what real love is until you have like start having kids. And I immediately saw the switch in you and Chase like from day one.
What's funny is we're the exact opposite than what we thought we were gonna be. I thought Chase was gonna be like the clingy one, the one that's gonna be hard to like leave the baby. It's me. It's me. I 100% own that. That is totally me. And I will say, like, it has been an eye-opening experience. When you go through certain life changes, it really tells you who's there for you and who's not, like what kind of support you need and what you don't need. Like, it is really an eye-opening experience.
I can only imagine. I have anxiety just in here thinking about it myself, especially although this doesn't like this doesn't like measure up to anything you've experienced thus far. But even with me having this dog, I literally feel like I signed up to be a single parent. I'm like, how in the hell do people go through like taking care of a kid? Because dogs, especially those first few months, are literally like newborns with 4 legs. And I'm just like, every day I'm going through something different. I'm just like, dude, like I was just talking to my parents the other day. Whenever you guys come back over here, you'll see. So he has separation anxiety, as I was telling you, Shaniqua, you know this. And like, I don't know what's gotten into him like this last like week or so. I'll leave the house and come back and he started chewing up my walls. And I'm like, what? And I've heard that some dogs are known to do that. And y'all know how I am. Like, I have OCD. So when I come in and see something like that, I'm through the roof. Like, I'm pissed. I'm like, dude, but I know I can't be but so mad because he doesn't know any better.
Yeah,
you know, and I'm like,
he's a puppy.
Yeah, he's a puppy, and I can't treat him like he's a person that obviously I can teach to like stay off of this. You can't chew on this. Like, it is so nerve-wracking. But like, I couldn't imagine what it's like to like have a kid right now. Although I can
listen. Let me tell y'all something. It is not for the faint of hearts, okay?
Oh, I know.
My single parents out there, I don't know how the hell y'all manage a plot. I have a newfound respect for my mother, even though she get on my nerves. I have a newfound respect for her because I do not know what the hell I would do without Chase. Like, I'm like, and to be honest, I'm like 100. I'm mostly with the baby. Like, I'm mostly caring for her because she breastfeeds. So she needs, I'm like her food supply. But I don't know what I would do without him. Like, it's not for the faint of hearts. I'm just telling y'all. Be mindful of who you pick.
Very true.
But I was gonna say, now that you brought it up too, about the breastfeeding and feeding aspect, do you feel as though that like adds another like layer of like, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess like affection, like a different level of connection that you have with your daughter breastfeeding? Because I hear sometimes people feel as though it kind of levels up that like affection between the mother and the child just by performing an act of service such as that.
I could see that. My love language is acts of service, so yeah, I could see that. But honestly, I think the connection moment is like literally the moment that you give birth and like they hand you the baby. That was my moment. Like, oh my God, like she's mine. Like, this is literally my human being. Like, this is my person. And when they say like when you have a child, it's literally your heart outside of your body. That's literally that feeling. Like, you just look at them and you're just like, ah. Now, I know every parent doesn't have that experience, but like for me, that's what it was. Granted, I did go through my brief like spells of postpartum, but it was never a disconnect from my child. Like some women go through spells of postpartum where they have like that disconnect from their child. They feel bad because they don't feel that affection that you're supposed to, which I'm not really big on supposes. I talk to my clients about that anyway. But I never experienced that, luckily. everybody has their own little different things when it comes to postpartum. And luckily mine was really only brief. Like I didn't have to take any type of medications. I should still be in therapy right now, but I had to take a moment because I didn't want to get overwhelmed with every little thing. But yeah, it's really not for the faint of heart. You have to really be mindful of your mental state during this entire time and try to do some self-care. I did get out for like 2 hours, and that just felt like rejuvenating, just to get out and breathe and then come back.
Granted, I know you may not be able to answer this since you don't work with kids, but I was wondering, Chaila, kind of going off of what she was saying, like, have you ever dealt with families where there's just like a disconnect between the parent and the child, to where like the parent knows like, okay, I'm responsible for giving birth to this child, but like there's just not this sort of affection that they know they should have with their children? Have you ever ran across any cases such as that?
Yeah, I actually see that all the time, to be honest. A lot of the children that I work with, they come from homes of possibly 8 to 10 children. I think right now, one of my largest homes is 9. And so there are a lot of the mothers on my caseload right now who are going through postpartum, but they're going through it, as Shaniqua described, the other way, where there's no attachment there. Also, when the fathers are not really involved, it's that sense of like resentment, wishing, there was more that they could do, not to just support my client, but all of the other children that they have. And, sometimes it's unfortunate because, being that we are mandated reporters, there's a lot of other underlying things that could be happening in the home. And so like Shaniqua was describing, from my point of view, being the one to support that mother or that child, I have to figure out what would be the best decision. Like, okay, so are you going to report this mom because her house is infested with this and it's just going downhill and she has all these children and you're worried about the safety, the environment? So it's like, okay, at this point, if you don't do something, you're a liability, but then at the same time, I have to sit back and I'm like, that's when I staff it with my supervisor and I'm like, okay, I don't have children. I can't imagine what this mother's going through. She has no support, 9 children, and none of the fathers are involved. You know what I'm saying? Or, even 11 children, nobody's involved. There's no type of support. Like your closest support is like 2 hours away and they don't want to be involved with you. So it's just like, it's tough sometimes because it's like, you have to figure out, okay, so do I risk, possibly losing my license because I didn't make the correct call? Or, like she was saying, those days where like you just can't come to like push yourself to take care of you and your family. And sometimes, you see it to where those suicidal ideations come into play. So it's like, I don't really have a plan, but I know I have those thoughts of worthlessness and that I wouldn't mind, offing myself at any point. So it's like in situations like that, you have to consider, okay, not just her, but all the other children that are involved,
Right.
So it just goes back to everything Shaniqua said, like having that support system, because there are so many single moms who are just trying to make it, and granted the circumstances. So a lot of them do lose their children because they just can never get ahead. Like the way that the system is set up for families like that, they never had a chance. And even trying to make a way, what I'm saying, you still don't really have a chance. And like, even, my story, when my dad was killed, like it was just my mom. And so I remember her like telling me stories where like, just to qualify for food stamps, they were saying like, oh, well, you would need to sell your car just to qualify, like little things. And she's like, I don't make anything. Like, how can I not qualify for anything to support me and my child? So it's just like, things like that from back then. That's 23 years ago. And then you think about now, not much has changed within the system to help these families.
That's crazy. Something else that you said that I kind of wanted to ask. I know in previous conversations I've had with Shaniqua, she talks about the ways that her work impacts her and how she tries not to bring her work home with her. And like, that's why she has her therapist there for, moments that she may experience, like from a personal standpoint or just dealing with certain, things she deals with from a work standpoint. What are your like outlets, I guess, I can say, as far as trying not to bring your work home with you as you're working through cases, especially since you work with kids. I can only imagine like what that does for your mental state.
That's tough. I can honestly say this past year being a supervisor, I don't feel like I've done much self-care, just because even though they're telling you to turn off your work phone, don't pay attention to your emails. For example, I went out of town last week, was gone 4 days, and came back to like a huge disaster. So it's like, I think I struggle with those boundaries because one, some of the people on my team are still very new. So I want to ensure that she's always supported. And then my other team member just happened to be with me on that trip. So it was just like I was only able to detach from work a little bit, not fully. And then I will also say being virtual makes it completely hard to like zoom out and just say, oh yeah, work is work. Like, no, work is this room that I'm in right now. And then I go downstairs or upstairs and that's home. You know what I'm saying? So just being virtual, it's like, I don't feel like I ever got that separation. You know what I'm saying? Because you have the office, but it's like when you're completely at home all the time. And then you know what I'm saying? Like just that supervisor role for me, I feel like it has definitely made it hard for me to set boundaries. So I would say my self-care would definitely be traveling, like getting out of the house as much as I can. Like y'all know Bishop is a homebody. Yeah. So, as much as I'm on the go, he's like, what the heck? Sit still, stay home. But for somebody like me, I'm just like, I need something to kind of take my mind off of everything that I see, everything that's going on. And then, like I said, even when I'm supposed to be off, I'm still supporting other people on my team. So definitely set those boundaries because I think I have completely neglected self-care 2021.
I was going to ask, so you work, is it fully remote as of now?
So it will be fully remote as of now. When I transition to clinical assessor, the good thing is that I will be out of the field completely. Unless a family would need me to go into the office, that would be the only time, but that would be fully remote. Whereas now, currently with the position that I'm in the field. So, I am the one that's reporting on the scene for crises, going into the home to provide services. Like some of our caseload is virtual because of COVID. And, a lot of the parents with all of the children don't feel comfortable with 3 different people in and out of my home 3 to 4 times a week. But overall, yes, like I would be virtual completely.
So I was going to ask, so Shaniqua, you were like, is it like 50-50? Well, prior to giving birth, was it like 50% virtual and then 50% in the field? How was your work situation?
So with me working with geriatrics and like assisted living facilities and nursing homes, I tried to do virtual. It just doesn't work out that well. So I have to,
because of the age group.
It's not necessarily just because of the age group. It's also because I need the facilities buy-in. Like I need them to participate and they don't get paid by us. So I don't blame them. If I'm not getting paid to do it, why am I doing it? Like that's extra stuff that I have to do on top of everything else that I have to do. Like I don't want to do that.
Gotcha.
So if I don't get their buy-in, it's not going to work. My job is not necessarily salary based. Like I work as much as I get paid. So if I don't work, I don't get paid. Right. So it's better for me to just go into the facilities and see my clients and then leave and come home. Now with me being a new mom and having all this anxiety, by the way, maternity leave sucks. I don't know what we need to do as a system to fix that because you only get 6 weeks paid. You can get up to 12 weeks, but you only get 6 weeks of those paid. So the other 6 weeks is like your SOL. And that's even then 12 weeks, your baby's what, 3 months? Like, that's and then crazy. You have to leave. Yeah. Then you have to leave them to go back to work full time. It's ridiculous. So technically I would have to go back after next week and Chas is only a month and a half.
Already? That's crazy.
Yes.
And I was going to say, like, even still with the environment that you live in, like, granted, we're all taking these new precautions now to keep ourselves safe, but COVID is real and you have a new baby. So it's like,
I have a brand new baby and I have to go into a whole assisted living facility. So needless to say, Shaniqua is technically looking for an at-home job. because I need to be either that or the facilities have to be close. I'm trying to see with my supervisor because my current job is great. Like it's the first job I felt appreciated, first job that I really like. Salary is pretty good. But my problem is the distance. Like if Chas needs something, I'm 45, 50 minutes away. Like I have to jump on the highway and then run to her. I could jump on the highway. I could leave at any point, but I don't want to have to do that. So I have to figure out a stay-at-home job, telehealth. So with that being said, I will probably be looking for an at-home job just to be closer to my baby and just for convenient purposes as well. Like with COVID going on, with the ability to be at home and do sessions, I just like to be in the comfort of my own home doing my sessions. And I do telehealth part-time, and I actually found out that I really like it. The only downside is like if I find a job where I'm doing sessions and I only get paid by sessions and people cancel, then like,
Shayla looked triggered.
I am triggered. And it's crazy because from my standpoint, you know, still with it being salary, you have expectations with any agency. So for myself, mine would be, 7 a week, like making sure you see 7 clients. Of course, I have, admin work and things that I do. But say if I, set my week out to see 7 and by Friday, only 3 show, that means I have literally Saturday to that means I have literally Saturday to try to play pickup and catch up on all of those sessions. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, there's no, I'm just take PTO. It's like, no, you better do a collateral, do something billable to make up for that time. So I think that's just the only thing that I don't like, because it's like, who wants to be rescheduling any sessions on a Saturday? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Exactly.
I was going to say, with all this talk about like working virtually or whatever, something that my job keeps talking about is like they're back and forth as far as whether they want us all to come back on site full time or work out like a hybrid situation or not, because they're concerned. Of course, it's a business need at the end of the day that they are back and forth about as far as whether they feel like it's essential for us to really be on site or not. But at the same time, they're kind of like worried about people's mental health working virtually, because a point that really Shaniqua, a point that you have brought up that kind of made me think of something is the fact that they're constantly at my job having to remind people to take vacation, because to the point that Shayla was mentioning is like people are so used to like working from home and then clocking out from working at home, and like you said, potentially moving from one room to the next, and you're not able to truly separate work and home. So people are like, listen, I know you guys are working from home now, so a lot of you are like, why am I taking vacation? I'm not doing anything really. Not doing anything, but it's like, working from home, you're feeling like, well, what's the point in taking vacation? Like when I'm tired, I can just go move to another room or something like that. And it's like, no, take the vacation to truly take the time to separate, the work aspect. And it's funny because I remember when I first started going back to work. So as you guys know, I only go to work like once or twice a week max for the most part. And I remember when I first started having to do that, I was like, gosh, like this is like annoying. But after a while, it was just like, I can't believe I'm actually looking forward to going into the office today just to change up my environment. I really didn't realize that, like, as much as like I quote unquote don't like people, I was just like, it's cool to just be around the midst of like other people instead of me and Apollo all day. So that was something that both of you kind of tapped into in a way or whatever that kind of triggered me, and like a lot of the different conversations that are going on at work. But at the same time, I think it's a generational thing too, because I feel like the people, like the generation, like our parents' generation, right? I feel like the way they communicate is always like, it's like personal, like it's face to face, like right there in each other's space. And I feel like with us coming up, the way that social media and like you know, the way we are through our phones and FaceTime and all that stuff, like we can maintain a lot of our relationships virtually anyway. A lot of us, that even for me and Shaniqua, like we got friends that we probably haven't seen in God knows how long, and we still maintain strong relationships virtually. And I think a lot of people in our parents' generation, outside of Facebook, they really don't have many ways of doing that, opposed to like being able to physically go and see those individuals if they ever want to see them, or you get what I'm saying. So I don't know. With that being said, a lot of people in our parents' generation, from a work standpoint, are like, no, I think it's affecting everyone's like social aspect. I feel like it's more effective if you're like in each other's space at work or whatever. That way it could like benefit your social aspect. And the rest of us, the millennials, are like, nah, I'm chilling. Thanks though. Like, I'm good over here. And it was something else that one of my other coworkers brought up that had me dying on a call one day. Gosh, what did he say? It was basically speaking to what I was saying though. He was like, he was like, shade but no shade. Like, he said, I joined the team last. I've been virtually having relationships with you guys this entire time. I'm not missing out on anything, I don't feel like. And then, oh, I know what I was about to say. He was saying he feels like he's not missing out on anything. But then the thing that's not making sense, at work, they still want us to social distance. So it's like, so what's the point in coming to work then if we're still not going to be able to have like our typical like team meetings? We all still can't meet in a room together. So why are y'all forcing us to come back to work if that's the case? Now it sounds like you want us all, instead of being confined in our home, you want us confined to a cubicle all day, and that's going to mess up my mental state more versus being in my house, because at least in the comfort of your own home, you can move however you please around the house. But at work, it's like you're confining me to this one space. And the way I am, I'm like, that's going to make me feel like I'm in a mental jail. And if that's the case, let me stay home. I don't got time for that. But that was my little rant or whatever, because that's what we're dealing with at work currently. But this isn't about me.
Yes, absolutely.
But
I will say,
you said what?
I said I would agree. COVID has messed up a lot of people's mental state. So
yeah. I was actually gonna say, I don't know if we ever, in any of our separate conversations through your other episodes from last season, I don't know if I remember asking this. How do you guys feel like COVID has personally affected like each of you and like your mental states and things of that nature? Look at Shayla.
I hate it. I hate everything about it. Like the mask, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just like the vaccination, constantly going back and forth with like, you know, those who don't believe in it, those who do believe in it, you know, those fearing those like myself who are going to turn into zombies, or like people who aren't vaccinated contaminating me. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think it's just nerve-wracking. You know what I'm saying? Even getting down to like, you know, how it can separate families. Like, you know, my dad was big on this whole vaccine. Like, my sister wasn't even welcome here until she got vaccinated. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just one of those things where like everybody has their own views, and it's like, you know, I'm that person where like I'm in the middle. I get the people who don't want to do it, and I get the people who do have it. But it's like at the same time, when it goes back to like, I guess you can just say the whole aspect as a whole, you know what I'm saying? Or people just like the fair, you know, I had so many people, you know, they thought I was crazy when like all of us would get up and do like the gatherings, and you know, they're like, y'all are crazy during a pandemic, y'all having all these cookouts. But it's like, you didn't want to get vaccinated, and then you're at the fair around all these people, but you judge me for being at a cookout with probably 13 to 15 people. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like all the controversy, and then it's just like the limitations on just like being able to travel certain places, or like I haven't really been able to experience like, of course, when we all went to Jamaica, we experienced the COVID process. with like the testing, but it's just like, waiting 2 days for this and then quarantining for that. Like, I think it's just gotten to the hassle where I was somebody where I was quick to go out of the country, where now I'm just like, I don't want to deal with it, because you don't know, like you don't want to be on the beach with a mask the whole time. But then also you're thinking like, oh, well, if I don't take precautions, I also may have to, it might hinder me from going back to work because I'm positive, or, so I don't know. For me, I think there's just so many underlying factors that play a role in how we move. And it's just like, those who are more prone to, like Shaniqua, for example, having a baby, or like me being around someone with severe underlying health issues. You just have to move so differently now.
Absolutely. I'd be inclined to agree.
I was actually, I don't want to speak on like the vaccine stuff too much, because I actually have an upcoming episode about the vaccines where I pull in a lot of our own friends and family or whatever that are in that industry, just like me. But the one thing that I can touch on that Chaila kind of touched on too was about the division of families at this point in time, not just obviously due to like social distancing and stuff like that, but we actually had an interesting like we call them town halls, where like there are these meetings that like my entire site basically attends. Well, now we attend it virtually. And our last conversation was actually about vaccines and the impact on people and families at this point in time. And one of my actual old team members from my old department, she's African. I believe she's from Kenya. And she said that literally her entire family is still over in Kenya. And she said that when the vaccine was first like produced and everything or whatever, she said her entire family in Kenya was like, absolutely not, that's dead. Like, we're not even open to that idea. They're trying to, like, we don't believe it's safe. They had their own reasons, of course, as to why they were against it. Well, they made the decision as an entire family to not get the vaccine. But see, my coworker, being that she works in vaccines, is like, well, I'm actually going to make the decision for myself to get vaccinated. So she got vaccinated and her entire family was pissed. She said, like, she finally told her family, and everyone was like, why would you go against the family like that? Like, I can't believe you would go behind our backs and do something like that. Like, they were all like so upset with her. And she said basically she blocked all of it out. And what she did was, I guess when the first chance she had an opportunity to travel back home, she said she purchased a ticket. She flew all the way to Kenya, and she surprised her dad specifically, because her dad was like one of the main ones that was like not trying to hear it. And she said she brought, because here when you get vaccinated, you get your vaccine card or whatever. So she said she took all of that with her on the trip. And she said she showed up to her parents' house and was like, look, I'm about to explain how vaccines work to you guys. Like, and she invited their other family members over. So she gave them a rundown as far as like, she educated them basically on how vaccines work, why she made the decision for herself to go ahead and get the vaccine. She shared like some of the processes that we have in place here that it sounds like they don't have in Kenya. Because she was like, there, of course, there's just a lot of things that they're not telling their people that even, our government can do a lot of shady stuff too. But like, it sounds like our government is still a lot more transparent than theirs. And so she said she literally wouldn't leave Kenya until her dad got vaccinated. And she said she was able to convince him to get vaccinated before she left. And shortly, she said, and now he done went from being on this side to where he was totally against it to now, if you're not vaccinated, he's looking at you sideways like, what? Like, you're not vaccinated. And I was dying on the call because I'm like, that's how so many, honestly, myself, that's how I was initially. Like, I feel like a lot of people in our own group was like, nah, that vaccine, I don't know how I feel about that. But then slowly but surely, a lot of us started getting vaccinated. And thankfully, I don't know too many people, especially in our group, that had any like serious issues with getting the vaccine. Of course, you have certain side effects, but honestly, a lot of the side effects are actually typical vaccine related symptoms. Like me, myself, I had cold symptoms after my first injection, but I have cold symptoms when I get the flu vaccine. So that wasn't anything abnormal for me. But I think kind of to the point that you were making, Chaila, part of me understands where people are coming from, being that they believe you're supposed to be like pro-choice. I get that. And then on the flip side over here too, I'm kind of like, but you can't contradict yourself and say, oh, well, I'm not a believer of the vaccine, but look at people like us crazy that have been vaccinated and we still traveling like we would like to and going to certain social events or whatever. It's like, you pick and choose your battles or whatever. Like the math needs to math. It needs to make sense. Like you can't complain over here and then complain over here. Like pick a side and stick to it. But I definitely plan on diving more into that particular subject in an upcoming episode. And I'm actually kind of like excited to talk about it because I think it'll actually be a chance to educate people the same way my coworker had to educate her family. I think it'll be a good discussion to where I can educate a lot of people about how vaccines work, what officially led us to get comfortable getting vaccinated ourselves, and even talk about some of the nuances to where like I can again see why people are still against it. But yeah, I can't wait. But yeah. Oh, but speaking of which, Shaniqua, if you're comfortable enough to discuss this, how do you think your mindset has changed about the vaccines now that you're a mother yourself?
And also, Shaniqua, if you can also talk about just the process of like the whole vaccine being a thing, but then you became pregnant. And like a lot of mothers, I read up on it, but it's like, I'm gonna be honest, like if I was in your shoes, I don't think I would have, just because it's like you're not just thinking for yourself, but you're thinking for your baby. So like I would love to hear your views.
My views haven't changed. As far as that vaccine goes, Shaniqua is still unvaccinated. And the only reason why I'm getting vaccinated is basically because my job has kind of like made it mandatory, which I knew eventually it'd make it mandatory. I'm not like a conspiracy theorist type of person, like, oh, this vaccine is gonna make they're planting something in my body, they're trying to trace me or something. Nah. Like I think that's ridiculous. Like if they wanted to do that, you get vaccinated for school. They could have been did that shit.
Honestly.
But as far as pregnancy goes, I was very adamant that I was not getting vaccinated while I was pregnant. And that reason being is because, to what you said, Chaila, like I have to think for a whole nother person. Like this is something that's new. I don't know the long-term consequences of being vaccinated during my pregnancy. Granted, they said that it's not like a live virus that they're giving you. I understand that aspect. Cool. But you didn't study pregnant women. So I can't, and no doctor, no professional can tell me the long-term consequences of it because it hasn't been out long-term. Right. So you can't tell me what's going to happen with my baby once I get vaccinated. So for me personally, I decided to wait. If I had to get vaccinated, it was going to be after birth. So right now I feel a little bit more comfortable with doing it because it's gonna impact me more so than it is gonna impact my child. Granted, she might get some antibodies or some type of effects from it from my breast milk, which makes me a little bit nervous with it. If I had a chance or opportunity, I probably would have waited until after breastfeeding to make that decision because I don't want anything to impact her that I don't know enough about.
Right.
So again, I'm not pro or against vaccinations. I'm very pro-choice. Like it is your decision, it's your body, it is your right. So nobody can tell me what I can do, what I can and can't do with my body. So I got friends that are doctors and I have a mother that is thinks she knows everything. So like neither party is going to sway me to choose something to do something with my body. It's my choice. Like I'm very adamant about that. So I am going to get vaccinated. I am going to talk to some of my mommy friends that have been vaccinated while they are breastfeeding just to see how their child reacted. I did see something on Instagram that kind of scared me, which I need to stop looking at stuff on Instagram where a mother, she actually breastfed and got vaccinated. And granted, I don't know the whole story. Like it doesn't necessarily mean it was the vaccination, but her baby ended up getting like a severe rash, like an unexplainable severe rash. So stuff like that scares me, but I'm a praying woman, so I'm gonna just pray about it and just hope for the best. And just be very cautious about what I do when it comes to my child. Like,
Right.
she is everything. So I need to make sure I move correctly when it comes to her.
Right. I was actually gonna ask, do you guys know, so Shayla, for your job, do you guys have something in place to where everyone has to be vaccinated by a certain date?
So no, but now it's gotten to the point where, okay, those who are vaccinated are getting incentives. So things like
Oh,
that are starting to happen.
Are
Like
they trying to
she's
pay you? They're trying to pay you a little bit more.
so
Ah.
it's like things like that are happening because you do have that pushback. Like Shaniqua said, one of my friends, as y'all know, she's the same way. Like she's completely against it. There's no discussion about it. Like y'all can't make me do it. I'm willing to lose my job behind it, and now I stand on that. So me being her direct supervisor, I support her in that because, like Shaniqua said, I'm the same way. I'm pro-choice. Like, you know what I'm saying? And also for me, I have so many friends who have different reasons as to why they will oppose it. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that's very close to me, her son is on the spectrum. So when you think about his entire existence from the time she birthed him, us being around him those first few months, and then watching him regress when, certain things took place. And so her and her husband look at things a lot differently because they do a lot of research constantly trying to figure out what caused what. Not to say that the vaccine, would cause that, but because he is, about to be 7 now, it's like I've put him in all this therapy. I've got him to the point where he's making so much progress. I don't want anything to try to make him regress.
right.
And so in decisions like that, or at situations like that where they've done their homework, they know more than I do because I don't have a child who's not typical, or I don't have children at all. In situations like that, it makes me have a little bit more empathy, you know what I'm saying? Because I know how serious that is for them. Like, she's saying like any little thing, could trigger something else, or maybe it'll get to a point where he's never verbal at all. So those are just things that, like I said, I think it's like case by case. Like some of them, I just have a little bit more empathy for because I understand the high concern.
Yeah.
I
agree.
I was just asking because like Shaniqua was touching on, like my job, I put out a statement a couple of weeks ago and was like, yeah, you're required to be vaccinated. It's like no ifs, ands, or buts. Like you can only have certain reasons behind, like it has to be either a religious reason that I don't know how they want you to prove, like from a religious standpoint, but I don't know. I don't, of course, I'm not associated with those sort of religions that are against it. So I can't speak for those people in terms of how do you prove, like, from a religious, that you're a part of this religion and what specifically in your religion says that you can't do this. And then, of course,
That
I
is
think,
true.
yeah, I don't know
I don't know how
how
you do
that
that.
works. And then,
I don't know why I didn't think about that. I don't know how would you prove that? And low key, that's disrespectful as well. Like
That was,
that's really disrespectful.
no,
and that's what I was gonna say. I can't speak too much on what company, but I know someone from a major company in the RDU. She did that, and they made her write up this statement. And I guess if the waiver holds her over until like another certain amount of time, but she got approved for that, amount of time. So this is a thing. Because they
That's
were going to
crazy.
fire her if she didn't have it by, I think, the first cutoff. Adam, it was like the period. It's like, okay, so you have until this period, and they extended. But yeah, they gave her like a waiver, but she did have to go into detail.
For future references for companies, that's like, as a social worker, as a therapist, that is high key disrespectful to have someone try to prove their religion to you in order to not be vaccinated or to not lose their job, like for some whatever medical reasons. Like that's very disrespectful, very culturally insensitive.
Yeah. I was about to say, I can talk about this, being that I work in this field, there's a lot of stuff that I can talk about, but again, I'm gonna try to hold off until our next episode or whatever. But I actually just realized we're actually coming up on our time, and this is like random, but something that I realized comparing last season to this season already, my episodes are flying by like this. every conversation that I'm having, I'm like, bruh, the time is already up. Like, what the hell? But anyway, I'd like to, of course, thank Shaniqua and Chaila here for this great conversation that we had. And I'm going to put the ladies' information in my description down below. So you guys can follow them, hit them up. Even if, especially if you're in the RDU area, if you guys are open to, I'm sure they don't mind having you guys ask them any therapists that they would recommend for you guys regarding certain services it is that you're looking for. Shaniqua, speaking of which, I actually need to hit you up after this because a friend of mine actually wants to ask you something as far as like a not a recommendation, but we'll talk about it after this. You'll see what I mean. But anyway, with that being said, that wraps it for today's episode. Again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, deuces.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Thank you for tuning in to Sip on This with A Paris. About to get lit with these topics. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for the love and your time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Without further